Have you ever noticed it? That rush at the beginning of a connection, the way she lights up when she talks to you, the texts that come fast and filled with laughter, the shared moments that feel almost electric. It's intoxicating. You're high on attention, feeling like you've stumbled into something rare, something precious. But then, almost without warning, the warmth fades, the messages slow, the smiles seem forced. What was once fire now feels like cold. This isn't just bad timing or coincidence. This is the devaluation cycle, and understanding it could save you from heartbreak, confusion, and the kind of emotional exhaustion that makes you question your own worth. The devaluation cycle starts innocently enough with idealization. In the early stages of any romantic or intense connection, attention is lavish. Every compliment is carefully chosen. Every laugh is like a spotlight on you. She is, in a sense, putting you on a pedestal. This isn't unique to one gender or personality type. People naturally seek novelty and validation. But here's the catch. Attention in this phase is often highly conditional. You are celebrated for the energy you bring, the excitement you provide, or the way you seem to fit into the image she wants to create for herself. During idealization, it's easy to feel invincible. You start to crave her attention more than anything. You hang on every word, analyze every emoji, and feel a sense of connection that can feel deeper than it actually is. But this stage is fragile. It's built on perception, projection, and novelty, not necessarily on a deep, sustainable emotional foundation. And this is where the devaluation begins. Something subtle shifts. Maybe you don't respond quickly enough. Maybe you don't chase her as eagerly as she hoped, or maybe the novelty simply wears off. And suddenly, the energy flips. What was once intense attention turns into subtle coldness, sometimes even without warning. Texts come later. Laughter becomes lighter, less engaged. The conversations feel transactional. Here's the psychological truth behind this. Attention is a form of power. When someone invests a lot of energy into you, they unconsciously measure your response. If they feel you aren't matching the energy, or if their own internal motivation to idealize fades, they instinctively begin to withdraw. It's not always malicious, though it can feel cruel. It's a natural human mechanism to protect themselves from overinvestment or disappointment. And here's the kicker. When the coldness hits, it triggers an almost addictive pull. Suddenly, you miss the warmth more than ever. Your mind races to figure out what went wrong, trying to decode the change in tone, the missing emojis, the subtle distance. You replay conversations, you rationalize, you analyze. And in this cycle, your desire doesn't lessen, it intensifies. This is the very pattern that the devaluation cycle thrives on. If you're on the receiving end of this, it can feel like a puzzle with shifting pieces. You want more attention, you chase harder, and paradoxically, this chase can accelerate the coldness. Why? Because now you are proving the subconscious point. Attention isn't mutual, it's conditional. The harder you push, the more control you appear to surrender to someone else's emotional rhythms, and the more they feel the need to pull away. The devaluation cycle doesn't just happen in romantic settings either. It occurs in friendships, workplaces, or any dynamic where initial excitement fades into reality. But in romantic contexts, it hits harder because attention is tied to desire, self-worth, and emotional intimacy. High attention followed by coldness teaches the mind to associate love with uncertainty. This is why people can feel addicted to someone's affection, even when it's inconsistent or even harmful. So, how do you recognize it? How do you protect yourself without closing off entirely? First, notice the pattern. If someone is consistently hot and cold, it's less about timing or mood, and more about their own emotional regulation or attachment style. People who idealize quickly often devalue just as fast. Recognizing this gives you clarity. Second, protect your self-worth independently. Don't let your sense of value be tied exclusively to someone else's attention. High attention is intoxicating, yes, but your identity, your confidence, and your happiness shouldn't be dependent on another person's emotional pendulum. Third, set boundaries. When coldness appears, resist the urge to chase it immediately. Observe, assess. Decide if the connection aligns with your standards, your needs, and your emotional health. Often, giving space and maintaining your own equilibrium is more attractive than clinging. Fourth, understand that this isn't always malicious. Some people cycle through idealization and devaluation because of fear, insecurity, or attachment issues. Their coldness says more about their inner struggles than your worth. This perspective doesn't excuse mistreatment, but it helps prevent unnecessary self-blame. Finally, recognize your power in the cycle. When you stay grounded, aware, and self-respecting, the emotional pendulum no longer dictates your behavior. You maintain dignity. You respond, rather than react. You become the steady presence which paradoxically can shift the dynamic entirely, making attention more genuine and sustainable. In essence, the devaluation cycle is a test, not of your worth but of your awareness. It challenges you to distinguish between temporary infatuation and lasting emotional investment. To recognize patterns, control impulses, and navigate human attention with intelligence and self-respect. Because here's the ultimate truth. Attention will always ebb and flow in human connections. It's natural. But coldness that feels arbitrary and destabilizing? That's a signal. A signal to step back, to reassess, to protect your energy, and to focus on connections where attention is consistent, mutual, and respectful. So next time the high attention fades and the coldness arrives, remember, it's not a reflection of your value. It's part of a pattern, one that you can recognize, understand, and navigate without losing yourself. When once you do, the emotional turbulence no longer controls you. Instead, it becomes a lesson in clarity, self-respect, and ultimately, freedom. Because attention is powerful, but so is knowing your own worth.